The great station Aurora Prime floated in the black of space like a silver crown. It was built by the Galactic Council as a place of peace, where enemies could meet without fear. On this day the station shone brighter than ever, because a meeting was about to start that many believed would end the long Cold War between humans and the alien species. Delegates from 12 worlds had come to speak, to argue, and to sign a treaty. They arrived in their own small ships, each different, some like crystals, some like insects, some like giant feathers, and they docked carefully at the rings of the station. Inside the great hall of glass and steel the alien leaders stood waiting. Some had long tails that curled when they were nervous. Some had 4 eyes that blinked at different times. They spoke in low voices, clicking, hissing, or singing in their languages. They were waiting for one fleet, the one everyone whispered about, the Humanity Fleet. No one had seen it gathered in such strength since the siege of Titan. No one knew why humans would bring warships to a peace talk. Then the sensors lit up and every screen in the hall showed the same sight. From the darkness of space came the humans. First a single ship, tall and gray like a blade. Then another. Then another. Row after row of ships slid out of the void like silent wolves. They were huge and heavy, with armor that glowed with a soft blue light. Some carried guns so large they could crack moons. Others carried launch bays full of fighters. They formed a circle around Aurora Prime, holding position like a ring of steel. The alien delegates grew silent. Even the clicking and hissing stopped. They could see the power of Earth in those ships. A small alien diplomat named Karith whispered, "Why so many ships for peace?" His companion hissed, "Maybe they come not for peace but for surrender." No one answered. In the center of the fleet floated the human flagship, the Resolute. It was darker than the others and its edges were sharp like wings. On its side the symbol of the United Earth Fleet shone bright, a silver eagle holding a star. From its belly a small shuttle broke away and began to glide toward the station. It was white with a blue stripe, unarmed, a sign of diplomacy. But even as it moved, the fleet behind it stayed in perfect attack formation. The alien leaders shifted in their seats, watching. Some of them reached for hidden weapons or activated small shields on their arms. The great hall of Aurora Prime was silent except for the sound of breathing, some heavy, some light. The humans had come. The shuttle entered the main dock of the station and touched down with a soft hum. Steam rose from its sides as the engines cooled. A ramp extended and boots struck the metal floor. The human delegation walked out slowly. At their head was Admiral Carter, tall and broad, wearing the dark blue of Earth Fleet. His uniform was clean but heavy with medals. His face was calm but his eyes moved like radar, scanning everything. Behind him came officers and aides carrying small metal cases. One of the cases was longer, sealed, and locked with a glowing red seal. It was carried by 2 soldiers in full armor, their helmets hiding their faces. The alien leaders leaned forward, trying to see. "What is in that case?" someone whispered. "A gift. A weapon." No answer came. Admiral Carter reached the center of the hall and stopped. The humans formed a line behind him. The alien leaders felt a wave of tension rise like a storm. It was strange to see humans here. They looked so much like prey and yet so much like predators at the same time. Carter lifted his hand and gave a small bow. His voice was deep but steady when he spoke. "Leaders of the Council," he said, "we come here today for peace." His words echoed through the hall, translated into 12 languages at once. "We bring proof, we bring hope, we bring an end to the war." The aliens did not cheer. They only watched. Some of them stared at the glowing sealed case. Some of them stared at the Admiral's war medals. Others watched the human fleet outside the windows, forming its silent ring. Carter went on speaking about unity, about a new dawn, about trust. But while his mouth spoke peace, his hands stayed still and his eyes kept checking a small device hidden in his palm. It was black, with a soft blue light counting down numbers. No one but the humans could see it. No one knew what it meant. In the hall the air felt heavy. The alien leaders could not tell if this was a real offer of peace or a hidden threat. The sealed case pulsed softly as if alive. The fleet outside waited in perfect silence. Somewhere deep in the station, a security drone tried to scan the human cargo, but its screen turned black and died. In the shadows of the hall, a small alien scribe began to draw the scene, knowing that history was being made. The meeting that should have ended war had begun. But already there was a feeling, like the moment before a storm, that something was wrong. The alien leaders sat inside the great glass hall of Aurora Prime and watched the humans with unblinking eyes. Every color of skin, every shape of body, every type of clothing was gathered here, but nothing looked as strange to them as the small group of humans standing in the center. The hall was wide and bright, with a floor like polished stone and walls that showed the stars outside. Through the windows the ring of human warships glimmered like a steel crown around the station. The alien delegates had been told this would be a day of peace. They had been promised a treaty and an end to 100 small battles and border raids. Yet what they saw now was not the image of peace. It was the image of war waiting behind polite words. The Croth ambassador, a tall insectoid with black armor plates, tapped his claws against the table in a rhythm of fear. The Sale diplomat, a being made of soft blue light, flickered as if in a nervous tremor. The small Falari twins, who always spoke together, whispered in a language of clicks and trills, "Why so many ships? Why so many guns?" None of them received an answer. Admiral Carter's voice continued to echo, calm, deep, and strong, speaking of peace, but the eyes of the aliens drifted again and again to the sealed case being held by the armored humans. The case was long, metal, glowing with a faint red seal like a heartbeat. It had no markings. It gave off no clear energy signature, yet somehow felt dangerous. A Korak priest with long tendrils of silver hair closed all 4 of its eyes and muttered a prayer. The sound of it made the air tremble. Carter noticed, but his expression did not change. Behind him, his aides stood like statues, their faces neutral, their eyes scanning the room. One of them pressed a finger to his ear and nodded very slightly. The aliens could not hear the human communication channels, but they could see the tension like a shadow over the human faces. "This is not how peace looks," whispered a voice from the back. It came from the Veth, a reptilian race who had fought humans longest. Their leader, a scarred veteran named Drathis, narrowed his yellow eyes and stared at Carter. He had lost half his family to human guns. He had come here to demand justice, and he had expected to find weak diplomats with soft hands. Instead he saw soldiers and medals and a fleet outside. He felt the scales along his neck rise. "They planned something," he hissed to his aide. "I smell it." The aide shifted uneasily. "But they brought no weapons inside the hall," he said. "They bring something worse," Drathis replied, looking again at the glowing case. Across the hall the station's security drones floated silently. They were supposed to scan every visitor for hidden weapons, but their sensors could not pierce the case the humans carried. One drone tried again and again, then its screen flickered and died. Its small red eye dimmed and it drifted down, lifeless. The alien delegates saw this and a murmur rippled through them like wind over dry leaves. The human admiral kept speaking, but many aliens had stopped listening. They were watching the fleet outside, where even more human ships now appeared, sliding out of hyperspace like dark shapes. The ring around the station grew thicker. The aliens' voices rose in clicks, growls, and whispers. "This is intimidation. This is a show of force. They bring war to a peace table." The council's chair, a tall silver being named Iriel, lifted a hand for silence. "Let them speak," she said, her voice like soft bells. "Let us hear them." But even she could not hide the tremor in her long fingers. She turned her 4 eyes to Carter. "Admiral," she said, "we agreed to limit military presence at this meeting. Why so many ships?" Carter raised his head slowly. "Protection," he said. "Nothing more." His words were simple, but they did not calm the hall. Drathis let out a low hiss. Caritha's tail lashed the floor. The blue light being flickered brighter. The Falari twins clicked and trilled. No one trusted the word protection. Carter glanced at his palm again. The small device was still counting down numbers in a soft blue glow. Outside the windows the human fleet held still, engines humming like distant thunder. Inside the hall the aliens leaned forward, their bodies tense. They tried to read the humans' faces but found nothing but masks of calm. Some of the younger delegates began to whisper to their governments through secret channels, sending messages: the humans are not here for peace. The humans are hiding something. The humans are preparing something. On a balcony high above, the station's press scribes recorded everything, their cameras blinking. They were eager for the headline, "Peace at last." But what they were capturing instead was the quiet birth of fear. The case glowed softly like a coal. The admiral's words slowed. He raised his hand to gesture at the alien leaders. "Today we have a chance," he said. "A chance to end a war before it swallows all of us." His voice grew softer. "But you must be ready to see the truth." The words hung in the air like frost. None of the aliens knew what truth he meant. None of them knew why his voice carried such weight. The Croth clicked his claws again and again, the blue light being dimmed as if trying to hide. The Falari twins stopped whispering and simply stared. The sound of the human fleet outside, deep and steady, seemed to fill the hall, though no sound should have carried through the vacuum. Even the air recyclers seemed to pause. Something was coming, they could all feel it. A storm behind a locked door. A predator behind a soft voice. A secret behind a glowing case. The council had called this meeting to end the war. But as they watched the humans and the ring of steel around them, the alien delegates felt a new thought rise in their minds like a shadow. Maybe the war had only just begun. Admiral Carter stood in the center of the great hall with the eyes of 12 alien species fixed on him, and he felt the weight of history pressing on his shoulders, but his face showed only calm. His voice carried across the glass chamber, steady and deep, as the translators echoed his words in many tongues. He spoke of unity, of old wounds, of a future without blood. He spoke of children born without fear, of ships traveling between stars without guns, of a time when humans and aliens could build together instead of destroy. His words were simple, but his metals shone under the lights like a reminder of battles fought. The alien leaders listened, but they did not relax. Their bodies stayed tense. Their eyes flicked between his face and the sealed case held by the armored soldiers behind him. The case glowed faintly red, like a slow heartbeat. Some of them had been told that humans were unpredictable, that they spoke with soft voices but acted with hard fists. The Croth ambassador's claws tapped the table faster and faster, a sound like rain. The blue light being dimmed and flickered, as if each sentence made it weaker. Admiral Carter saw all of this but kept speaking. "Today," he said, "we stand at the edge of something new. We can step into peace, or we can fall back into war. We bring proof that war is not necessary. We bring evidence that can change everything." His hand made a small gesture to the soldiers holding the case, but they did not move. Behind his calm eyes he was thinking of the secret order from Earth that still burned in his pocket. Protect humanity at any cost. He wanted peace, but he knew what was hidden in that case could either heal or burn the galaxy. The alien leaders leaned forward, their antennae and tendrils trembling. They wanted to know what was inside, but fear kept them silent. Through the windows of the hall the human fleet still circled the station like silent wolves. No one moved. No one breathed too loud. Carter's aide, a young officer named Lynn, stood behind him with a data pad. She had been trained to keep her face blank, but inside she felt a knot of dread. She saw the numbers ticking down on the small device in Carter's palm. She knew what it meant, but she could not speak it here. The Croth hissed a question, his translator turning it into rough words. "What proof do you bring?" Carter turned his gaze to him slowly. "A truth you have long ignored," he said, "and a warning of what is to come." His voice was calm but cold enough to make the hall quiet again. The Falari twins whispered to each other in clicks. A warning, always a warning. The blue light being pulsed weakly. The Korak priest closed its eyes again and muttered another prayer. Drathis the Veth leader gripped the edge of his seat so hard his claws left marks. He wanted to strike the human, to shout, to accuse, but something in Carter's face stopped him. It was not arrogance he saw there. It was sorrow. Outside, another human ship appeared from hyperspace, larger than the others, taking position at the edge of the fleet. The alien delegates noticed and murmured darkly. They thought it was another warship. It was in truth a hospital ship, but no one here would believe that. Carter continued speaking, each word like a stone dropped into deep water. "We did not come here to threaten you," he said. "We did not come here to conquer you. We came because we discovered a danger greater than any war between us. We came because we could not face it alone." His eyes moved slowly over the alien leaders. "We came to show you." His voice echoed off the glass walls. The case pulsed again, brighter now. Lynn looked at the Admiral's palm and saw the countdown close to 0. Her throat tightened. The alien leaders felt a strange shift in the air, as if the station itself held its breath. The sail being flickered once, twice, and then went dark for a second before lighting again. "They hide something," one of the Falari twins whispered. "They hide something big." Drathis hissed and finally spoke aloud. "Enough words, human," his translator boomed. "Show us what you bring or leave this place." The hall erupted in a low rumble of clicks and growls and hisses as other delegates joined him. Carter lifted his hand, and the sound fell like a curtain. "We will show you," he said quietly. "But know this, once you see, nothing will be the same." He nodded slightly at the soldiers. They shifted their grip on the case but did not open it yet. Carter looked back at Lynn, and she saw in his eyes the heavy weight of choice. He turned again to the council. "You think we came here to start a war," he said. "But we came to stop one you cannot even see yet." His words hung in the air like cold mist. The alien leaders stared at him, their bodies tense, their minds filled with suspicion and curiosity. Outside the windows the human fleet's lights blinked in silent code. In the hall the translators clicked and hummed. The case glowed like a beating heart. Lynn's hand trembled on the data pad. Carter's thumb hovered over the small device in his palm. The countdown reached its last numbers. The hall felt like the moment before thunder. The alien leaders did not know what was coming. They only knew that something vast and hidden was about to step into the light, and they could not stop it. The hall of Aurora Prime was silent except for the faint hum of machines as every eye turned toward the sealed case the humans had brought. And even though no one could sense energy from it, a strange feeling filled the air like static before a storm. The armored soldiers shifted their stance as Admiral Carter lowered his hand and looked at the alien leaders, his eyes calm but dark, while behind him Lynn gripped her data pad so tightly that her knuckles went white because she could see the countdown on his hidden device reaching its final numbers. The alien delegates leaned forward, their bodies tense and alien hearts beating faster. The Kroth ambassador's claws scraped the table in a slow rhythm of anger and fear. The blue light sail being flickered again, its glow weak like a dying flame. Drathis the Veth leader hissed and his tail thumped against the floor. "Open it," he demanded through his translator. "Show us what you brought." Around him other voices rose in clicks and growls, some calling for proof, some for security to seize the case, some simply whispering prayers. The council chair Iriel raised her long silver hand for silence, but even she could not hide the tremor in her fingers. "Admiral Carter," she said in a soft bell-like voice, "our sensors cannot read your container. Our security drones fail when they scan it. This is a violation of our agreements." Carter nodded once. "It is not a weapon," he said simply. "It is something you must see." But he did not order it opened. Instead he glanced at Lynn, then at the armored soldiers, then back at the alien leaders. The countdown on his device glowed faintly blue, each number like a pulse. Through the windows behind him the human fleet held its ring around the station, their hulls reflecting starlight like blades. The alien leaders felt the weight of those ships pressing on their minds. Even though the weapons were silent, their presence was a loud message. The Quarak priest rose from its seat, tendrils shaking. "If it is not a weapon, then why hide it?" it asked. "Why block our scans?" Carter's jaw tightened. Because if the wrong eyes see it before the right moment, it could start a war far worse than the one you know, he said. His words were steady, but inside he felt the knot of dread tighten. He had begged Earth Command to let him reveal the contents openly, but they had refused. They had ordered him to time it precisely, to wait for the countdown to reach 0. Lynn's eyes darted between the alien leaders and the case. She had not slept for 3 days. She thought of her brother on a colony world attacked by raiders and wondered if she would ever see him again. The case glowed a little brighter, a slow red pulse like a heartbeat. A security drone tried to approach it again, its scanners humming, but the moment its beam touched the metal the drone's systems flickered and it crashed to the floor, lifeless. The sound made several alien delegates jump. Drathis hissed, his claws scraping sparks from the floor. "This is a trap," he growled. "They bring death to our station." The Falari twins clicked together, danger, danger, danger. The sail being dimmed, almost to nothing. Carter raised his hand again. "No trap," he said. "No threat. But a truth so dangerous that your governments may kill to keep it hidden." His voice echoed in the hall. Some of the alien leaders shifted uncomfortably. They had heard rumors of a hidden war in the shadows, of unknown ships attacking outposts, of missing colonies. They had blamed each other, blamed humans, blamed pirates. Now they wondered if the case contained proof of something else. "What truth?" Iriel asked quietly. "What have you brought to our table?" Carter looked at her, and for a heartbeat his mask of calm cracked, and she saw the weight of loss in his eyes. "Evidence," he said softly. "Evidence of a third hand moving the pieces of this war. Evidence of something that wants us all dead." His words fell into the silence like stones into deep water. The alien leaders stared at him. Some laughed nervously. Some hissed in disbelief. Some whispered to aides. Outside the windows the human fleet's lights blinked in silent code. Inside the hall the translators clicked and hummed. Lynn saw the countdown reach the last few seconds. She swallowed hard. Carter's thumb hovered over the small device. "Prepare," he murmured under his breath. The armored soldiers tightened their grip on the case. The alien leaders leaned forward, their antennae, tendrils, and eyes trembling. The case pulsed one last time, brighter than before, and then the glow vanished, leaving only the red seal. The hall felt like the moment before thunder. "Show us," Drathis hissed, voice low and dangerous. Carter nodded slowly. "You will see," he said. "But once you do there is no going back." He turned to the soldiers and gave a small signal. They set the case on the table in front of the alien leaders. The red seal flickered. A soft hiss of air escaped. Every alien in the hall instinctively took a step back. The Quarak priest raised its tendrils. The sail being flickered weakly. The Falari twins clicked in rapid panic. Even Iriel felt her heart beat faster. Through the windows behind them the human fleet stayed perfectly still, a silent wall of steel waiting. Carter reached toward the case but did not yet open it. He looked at the alien leaders one by one. "This is the truth you have been blind to," he said. "This is the proof of who has been feeding your war." His hand hovered over the seal. Lynn held her breath. The countdown on his device reached 0. The hall fell utterly silent. Even the air recyclers seemed to stop. Outside the station, a distant flash of light marked a new ship arriving, but no one noticed. All eyes were on the case. All hearts beat fast. And then, with a sound like a soft sigh, the seal clicked and the lid began to rise. The lid of the sealed case rose slowly, a faint hiss of cold air escaping into the hall, and every alien leaned forward to see the truth inside. But before the interior could be revealed the lights of Aurora Prime flickered once, twice, and then went out, leaving only the glow of emergency strips on the walls. A deep vibration rolled through the station like distant thunder, and the translators went silent. The alien leaders froze. Some reached for hidden weapons. Others activated personal shields. Carter looked up sharply, his hand flying to the device in his palm. Lynn's breath caught in her throat. She had seen the countdown reach 0, but this blackout was not what was supposed to happen. Across the hall a security drone sparked and fell, its systems dead. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the silence. Then a harsh voice cut through the dark from the far side of the hall. "This is their doing," it hissed in the guttural speech of the Veth. Drathis rose to his full height, claws extended, his yellow eyes glowing in the dim light. "They brought a weapon," he shouted. "They have shut down our station." The alien leaders erupted in hisses, clicks, and growls. Panic and fury spread like fire. Carter raised his voice above the noise. "Stand down," he commanded. "This is not us." But his words were drowned by the chaos. Through the windows of the hall the alien delegates could still see the ring of human ships outside, but now their running lights had changed from soft blue to hard red, the color of battle readiness. Engines flared. Turrets rotated. Fighters began to launch from bays. The alien leaders saw this and fear turned to rage. "They are attacking," cried the Falari twins in perfect unison. "They planned this." The Quarak priest raised its tendrils and a shield of silver light flickered into existence around the alien delegates. Sparks rained from the ceiling as panels overloaded. Lynn stumbled back, clutching her datapad. "Admiral, we're losing comms," she whispered. Carter's jaw clenched. "It's not us," he muttered. He tapped his device but it showed only static. The armored soldiers holding the case stepped closer to him, forming a shield. The case remained half open, its contents hidden by the darkness. "We need power back," Carter said. But before he could give an order a sharp crack split the air. A beam of energy lanced across the hall, striking the floor between the humans and aliens, leaving a black scorch mark. No one knew who fired it. The hall went dead silent again, the only sound the hiss of damaged circuits. Then another beam shot from somewhere above, shattering a glass panel. The alien leaders ducked. Carter drew a small sidearm from his belt and shouted, "Cease fire!" But there was no answer. Outside the station the human fleet shifted, ships moving into tighter formation. Alien defense platforms near the station activated, their own weapons turning outward. On every channel scrambled messages screamed warnings. But inside the hall no one could tell who was the enemy. Drathis pointed a claw at Carter. "This is your trap," he snarled. "You bring war into our home." Carter's eyes blazed. "We came for peace," he shot back. "Someone wants to stop this meeting. Someone wants us to fight." The alien leaders did not believe him. They saw the red lights of the human fleet. They heard the guns of fighters locking on. They saw the half-open case like a coffin. More beams flashed, one striking a wall near the sail being and making it flicker violently. The Falari twins screamed in clicks. The Quarak priest raised both tendrils and a pulse of silver energy swept across the hall, knocking several humans off their feet. Lynn fell to her knees, her datapad clattering to the floor. Carter steadied himself and holstered his weapon slowly, raising his empty hands. "Listen to me," he shouted. "If we fire now the war begins. That is what they want." His voice echoed but few listened. Drathis lunged forward, his claws slashing the air, but the armored soldiers blocked him with raised arms. The case between them glowed faintly in the dark, as if aware of the tension. "Open it now," screamed an alien voice. "Show us what you hide." Carter's eyes met Lynn's. He saw fear there but also resolve. "Do it," he said softly. Lynn scrambled to the case and pressed the hidden release. The lid opened fully, spilling a pale blue light across the hall. Every alien froze, their anger caught in their throats. Inside the case lay not a weapon but a small alien child, its skin marked with strange patterns, its breathing weak. It was neither human nor of any species present. The Quarak priest gasped. The sail being flickered brighter in shock. Drathis stared, his claws lowering. Carter spoke into the stunned silence. "This is what we brought," he said. "A survivor from a world none of you admit exists. A victim of the true enemy." His voice was heavy. We came to show you the proof. The alien leaders stared, their fury slowly turning to confusion. But before any could speak, another violent tremor shook the station. Through the windows a bright flash lit the void as one of the alien defense platforms fired on a human cruiser. The cruiser returned fire, its beams slicing across space. Fighters launched. Explosions bloomed like flowers. The war had begun outside even as truth lay revealed inside. Lynn grabbed the edge of the case to steady herself. The child inside stirred, opening large dark eyes and looking around the hall. It made a soft sound, weak but clear. Carter looked down at it with sorrow. They wanted this, he said to the alien leaders. They wanted you to see us as monsters before you saw the truth. Another blast rocked the hall, sending shards of glass raining from the ceiling. Alarms wailed as emergency power flickered back on. Red lights bathed everything. The alien leaders looked from the child to the admiral to the window where ships fired on each other. Some raised weapons again. Some stood frozen. Drathis hissed but did not move forward. The Falari twins clicked in confusion. The Quarak priest lowered its tendrils. Carter raised his hands once more. We can still stop this, he said. We can still stop the war if you listen. But outside more explosions lit the dark. The station shook under the force. The child in the case cried out, a thin eerie sound that cut through every translator. For a moment the hall went silent again. For a moment no one moved. And in that moment the galaxy balanced on a knife edge between war and something even worse. Admiral Carter stood in the shaking hall of Aurora Prime with red lights flashing across the glass walls and the sound of distant explosions booming through the station as though the void itself was cracking. Yet even in the chaos his eyes were fixed on the small alien child lying inside the open case, its skin pale and marked with patterns that no species in the hall recognized, its breathing shallow but steady, its wide dark eyes open now and watching everyone. Around him the alien delegates wavered between fury, fear, and disbelief, their claws and tendrils and eyes twitching, their weapons half raised, their translators stuttering in the storm of noise. Drathis hissed but did not attack, his yellow eyes locked on the child. The Falari twins clicked softly, not weapon, not weapon. The Quarak priest whispered a prayer, its tendrils trembling. Lynn knelt beside the case trying to shield the child from falling shards of glass, her data pad long lost in the chaos. Carter raised his voice over the alarms, deep and steady even as the station shook. This is the truth, he said. This is the proof of what hides in your shadows. We came to show you before it was too late. But his words fell into a storm of suspicion. The sail being flickered bright then dim and said through its translator, if this is truth then why surround us with ships? Why bring war to our door? Carter clenched his jaw. Because I had no choice, he answered. He could feel the weight of Earth Command's order burning in his mind, protect humanity at any cost. But now, staring at the small child, he wondered if obeying that order meant losing something greater than any war. He looked at Lynn and saw her fear and resolve. He looked at the alien leaders and saw their terror and rage. He looked at the window where human and alien ships traded fire like lightning in a storm. This was the moment, he thought. The knife edge. Listen to me, he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. This child is from a world erased from your maps, a world burned by an enemy none of you will name. We found it drifting in the ruins of a station destroyed not by human weapons but by something else. We came here to show you before that something comes for you too. The alien leaders stared but doubt clung to their faces like shadow. Drathis hissed, you expect us to believe your story while your fleet fires on ours? Carter's fists clenched. They are being manipulated, he said. Signals are being jammed. Someone wants us to kill each other. He turned to Lynn. Can you broadcast on a clear channel? She shook her head. Comms are jammed, Admiral. Something is overriding the station. Carter swore under his breath. He remembered his family on Earth, his brother lost at Titan, his daughter hiding during the raids, and he felt the old rage rising but forced it down. Peace was still possible if he chose it now. But Earth Command's voice echoed in his head, protect humanity at any cost. If he lowered his guard and the aliens struck, the fleet would burn. If he kept his guard and the aliens refused to listen, the war would spread to every star. He stared at the child again. Its eyes seemed to plead without words. The Quarak priest stepped forward slowly, its tendrils open in a gesture of peace. Admiral, it said softly, if what you say is true, then we must stop the fighting. Show us proof. Show us what this child carries. Carter nodded once, his throat tight. It carries a warning, he said. A warning encoded in its blood. A message. Lynn looked up at him in shock. Sir, if we reveal that here, she began, but he raised a hand. We have no choice, he said quietly. Outside the windows another explosion lit the dark, closer this time. The station shook again. Drathis hissed and backed away from the window. The Falari twins clicked nervously. The sail being flickered in and out like a candle in wind. Carter drew a small device from his coat, a thin rod with a blue tip, and held it over the child. This will show you, he said to the alien leaders. But you must listen. He pressed the rod to the child's arm and a thin line of light ran up the device. A projection appeared above the case, flickering in the red glow of the alarms. It showed star maps, coordinates, burned planets, destroyed stations. It showed ships none of them recognized, black and jagged like blades, attacking both human and alien worlds. The hall fell silent except for the alarms. The alien leaders stared at the images, their fear deepening. This is impossible, whispered Iriel, her silver fingers trembling. We thought those were accidents, pirates, rumors. Carter's voice was quiet but hard. No accident. No pirates. A force older than your council. A force that feeds on your war to keep you divided. The projection shifted, showing signals intercepted, plans decoded, messages from unknown sources stirring conflict between species. They want you to fight us, Carter said. They want us to fight you. They want to pick off the survivors one by one. Drathis's claws lowered slowly. The sail being dimmed but no longer flickered. The Falari twins stopped clicking. The Quarak priest whispered another prayer. Outside the window the battle raged, but in the hall a fragile silence grew. Carter lowered the device. This is why we came, he said. This is why we brought the child. To prove the truth. To end the war before it consumes us all. He looked at each alien leader. But I cannot stop the fleet alone. If you do not stand with us now, then we all die. His voice echoed off the glass walls. The child in the case stirred again, its small hand reaching toward the air. For a moment its skin glowed faintly blue and a whisper filled the hall, not from any translator but from the child itself, soft but clear, in every mind at once. Stop! Listen! Coming! The alien leaders gasped. Carter felt the hairs on his neck rise. Lynn's eyes widened. The Quarak priest dropped to its knees. Drathis hissed but did not move. The Falari twins whispered, "It speaks, it speaks." Outside the window the guns kept firing, but inside the hall time seemed to slow. Carter realized the child was trying to warn them even now. He looked at Lynn. "We need to get this message out," he said. She nodded. "I'll try to bypass the jamming," she whispered. He turned back to the alien leaders. "Help me stop this fight. Help me stop what's coming." His voice cracked for the first time. The hall smelled of ozone and fear. The child's glow faded, but its eyes stayed open. Carter clenched his fists. He had reached the edge of his orders. Protect humanity at any cost. But maybe protecting humanity meant trusting the others now. Maybe it meant risking everything. He drew a long breath and spoke one last time. "If we keep fighting out there, we give them exactly what they want. Stand with me now, or there will be nothing left to stand for." His words echoed like thunder in the quiet. The hall trembled again as the sounds of battle outside grew louder, but inside the chamber every being was frozen by what had just happened, the soft voice of the alien child still echoing in their minds like a memory they could not shake, its single word, cutting deeper than any weapon. Carter's breath came slow and heavy as he stared at the small figure in the case, its faint blue glow pulsing like a heartbeat. Lynn's hands flew over her damaged datapad, trying to reroute power to the comms, her face pale but determined. The alien leaders stood like statues, their weapons lowered but not yet abandoned. Drathus's claws twitched but he did not attack, his yellow eyes fixed on the child. The Falari twins clicked quietly to each other, voices like broken glass. The Quarak priest's tendrils trembled as it whispered prayers no translator could catch. Outside the window 2 more explosions lit the void, a human destroyer breaking apart under alien fire, but then alien fighters went dark as if jammed, drifting without control. Something was interfering with everything now. The child stirred again, its eyes glowing brighter, and a ripple of energy passed over the hall, silencing the alarms for a heartbeat. Then a vision appeared in every mind at once, not a projection from a device but a raw image seared into their thoughts. They saw black ships, jagged and endless, moving like shadows between stars. They saw worlds burning, stations breaking, fleets of every color being torn apart by something older and hungrier than them all. They saw the same ships hovering at the edge of this very system, cloaked but waiting. They saw signals injected into both human and alien networks, pushing them to mistrust, to arm, to fire the first shot. They saw themselves as pieces in a game they never understood. The vision lasted only a breath, but when it ended, every leader in the hall was gasping. Carter swayed on his feet, his hand gripping the edge of the case. "It's them," he whispered. "They're here already." Lynn looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, this isn't just a warning," she said. "It's a link. The child is a link." The Quarak priest stepped forward slowly, its tendrils open. "It carries their message," it said softly. "Or perhaps their fear." Drathus hissed but his voice was low now, no longer furious. "Why show us this?" he asked. "Why bring it here?" Carter lifted his head. "Because we didn't know how else to make you see," he said. "We didn't know they were this close." He looked to the window where the red lights of the human fleet still glowed, but some ships were now turning, their guns no longer firing, confused by the same visions. Alien defense platforms hesitated too. The battle outside was faltering as commanders on both sides received fragments of the same warning through their networks. The child's glow pulsed again, brighter, and this time its small voice filled the hall clearly in every language at once. "Stop fighting," it said. "They are near. They will come through your fire." Its words were simple but heavy, like stones dropped into water. The alien leaders shifted uneasily. The Falari twins whispered, "It speaks for them, or for us." The sail being flickered and said, "Perhaps both." Carter straightened his back and raised his voice. "You've seen the truth," he said. "You've heard the warning. If we keep shooting out there, we open the door for them. If we stop now, we might still have a chance." Drathus's claws closed and opened, his gaze darting between Carter and the window. "And if this is another trick?" he demanded. Carter stepped closer, his hands empty, his eyes hard. "Then kill me here and now," he said. "But if you believe even a little, then help me stop the war before it becomes their feast." His words echoed off the walls. For a long moment no one spoke. Then the Quarak priest extended a tendril toward the case. "Let it speak again," it said. The child's eyes opened wider, glowing like stars, and another wave of energy swept over the hall. This time the vision was not of destruction but of a possible future. They saw humans and aliens standing together, fleets side by side, black ships burning in the void. They saw hope. The vision faded but left a trace of warmth in the air. Carter's chest rose and fell. "That's what we're fighting for," he said softly. Outside the window the human flagship flashed a coded signal, its guns lowering. An alien cruiser responded with the same signal. Slowly, like a tide turning, the battle began to ease. Weapons powered down. Engines dimmed. Not everywhere, but enough to show the change had begun. Lynn's datapad flickered to life and she looked up in relief. "Admiral, I've got a clear channel," she said. Carter nodded sharply. "Patch me through to all ships," he ordered. She did. His voice echoed through every speaker in orbit. "This is Admiral Carter," he said. "Stand down. Do not fire. We are being manipulated. We face a greater threat. All units hold your fire." The message repeated in alien tongues too, as the station relayed it. Across the void ships hesitated, then obeyed. Silence spread where fire had been. Inside the hull, Carter lowered his head and exhaled once. The child in the case closed its eyes, and for a moment its glow dimmed as if exhausted. But then it spoke again, softer this time. "They know, you see," it said. "They are moving." Lynn's heart clenched. "Admiral, that means—" she began but stopped as the window outside filled with new shapes. Not human ships. Not alien. Black and jagged, like blades in the dark, sliding out of the void without a flash, without a sound. One, then two, then dozens. The alien leaders gasped. Drathis hissed and drew back. The Falari twins clutched each other. The Quarak priest trembled. Carter stared at the black ships and felt his stomach twist. The child had been right. They were coming through the fire. They had been waiting for this exact moment. Alarms wailed again, louder and sharper. Lynn looked at him, fear in her eyes. "Orders, Admiral?" she asked. Carter stood tall, his voice steady. "Prepare to fight," he said. "But not each other." He turned to the alien leaders. "If we stand together, we might survive. If we don't, we're finished." The hull shook as one of the black ships fired a silent beam that sliced past the station, cutting a defense platform in half without an explosion. It simply fell apart. The alien leaders looked at Carter, at the child, at each other. The knife edge had become a razor now. Drathis hissed low. "You ask much," he said. Carter nodded once. "I ask everything," he replied. The child's eyes opened again, and for a moment its glow spread across the hall like a dawn. "Together," it whispered. "Or nothing." The black ships slid from the void like shadows given form, silent and cold, their jagged edges swallowing the starlight as they surrounded the station and the fleets of both sides, their numbers growing by the second until they filled the view outside the hall like a living storm. Inside the chamber, Admiral Carter felt the weight of every eye on him, human and alien alike, their fear heavy as stone. The alien child's glow pulsed weakly, but its eyes stayed open, watching the newcomers with something that looked like sorrow. Lynn's fingers trembled over her datapad as she tried to pull up schematics of the station's defense grid, but the signals were scrambled, jammed by an invisible force. Drathis's claws were out now, but aimed not at Carter but at the windows where the black ships drifted. The Falari twins held each other close, their clicking silent. The Quarak priest's tendrils coiled around its staff as it whispered to unseen gods. Outside, one of the black ships moved forward with impossible speed, and without sound a thin beam of dark energy cut across space, slicing a human frigate in half. There was no fire, no explosion, just the slow tearing apart of metal like paper. Another beam struck an alien defense platform and it disintegrated into dust. The battle humans and aliens had been fighting minutes before was forgotten. Carter's voice rang out over the hall. "Now you see the true enemy," he said, his tone like iron. "Now you know why we came." His eyes swept across the alien leaders. "Will you fight beside us or die alone?" Drathis hissed, but there was no rage in it now, only grim resolve. "We will fight," he said slowly. "But we do not know how to fight these things." The Quarak priest raised its tendrils. "Then we learn," it said. "Or we are all lost." Carter turned to Lynn. "Get me every channel open," he ordered. She nodded and worked furiously. The child stirred in the case and spoke in its soft voice, its words filling every mind again. "Their shields drink your fire," it whispered. "Their eyes fear your light. Strike together. Carter's jaw tightened. You heard it, he said to the alien leaders. We need to coordinate. Lynn raised her head. Channel open, she said. Carter spoke into the comm, all ships, human and alien. This is Admiral Carter. Cease fighting each other. Form up on the station. Target the black ships with combined fire. Use high-energy flares. Overload their sensors. His voice repeated across the void in alien tongues as the station relayed it. Outside the windows, human and alien ships hesitated only a heartbeat, then began to move, breaking old formations and sliding into new ones side by side. Engines flared blue and green. Weapons shifted. Shields overlapped. For the first time in memory, fleets of different species formed a single wall. The black ships glided closer, beams flickering like scythes. One beam struck a sail carrier, but its new shield, reinforced by human tech, flared and held. Another beam fired at a human destroyer, but a Korak cruiser moved in front of it, absorbing the blow with its sacrificial armor. Carter gripped the edge of the case as he watched the impossible become real. Fire on my mark, he said into the comm. Lynn's eyes flicked to him. Sir, they're numbers, she whispered. We're outnumbered 10-1. Carter nodded once. Then we make every shot count. Outside the windows, the United Fleet powered weapons, thousands of guns turning toward the black ships. Carter raised his hand. Mark, he shouted. Space lit up as beams, missiles, and energy pulses from dozens of species struck the nearest black ships at once. Their shields flared dark, drinking the fire, but then Lynn triggered a code on her pad and high-energy flares deployed from human carriers burst across the void like suns. The black ships shuddered. Their shields flickered. One cracked open under the combined barrage, splitting apart into fragments that dissolved into nothing. A cheer rose from some of the alien delegates. Drathis hissed in approval. The Falari twins clicked a single sharp note of joy. But the black ships responded with a storm of beams, cutting into the United Fleet. A Korak vessel exploded. A human frigate broke in half. A sail fighter wing vanished in a flash of dark energy. Carter clenched his fists. Keep firing, he ordered. Target the weak points. Use the light. Outside, the battle became a blur of motion and color, alien and human ships weaving together, shielding each other, firing in perfect sync, guided by the child's whispers echoing through every mind. The station itself joined in, its hidden weapons unfolding for the first time in centuries, beams of white light lancing into the dark. The black ships reeled under the combined assault, some breaking apart, others retreating a little. But more kept coming, sliding from the void like endless shadows. The child in the case glowed brighter, its small body trembling. They do not stop, it whispered. They are many. Carter looked down at it, his heart heavy. Then we keep fighting, he said softly. He turned back to the alien leaders. We can hold them if we stand together, he said. Drathis nodded once. We fight until the last, he said. The Korak priest raised its staff and a wave of silver energy rippled across the hall, strengthening the station's shields. Outside the windows, a massive black ship larger than any of the others appeared, its edges like teeth, its presence making the stars dim. Lynn's breath caught. Sir, she whispered. Carter's jaw clenched. That's their leader, he said. The child opened its eyes wide, and for a moment, its voice was louder than the alarms. If it passes the gate, all is lost, it said. Carter looked at the alien leaders, at Lynn, at the fleet outside. He knew the moment had come. All ships, he said into the comm, focus fire on the largest ship. Everything we've got. Now. The fleets obeyed. Beams of every color struck the giant black ship, its shield flaring dark, its surface cracking but holding. The child's glow brightened until the whole hall was bathed in blue light. Together, it whispered again. Carter pressed his hand to the case. Help us, he said. The child's glow pulsed once and then spread outward like a wave, passing through the hall, through the station, through every ship in orbit. For a heartbeat, every human and alien felt a connection, minds touching minds, fear replaced by purpose. The fleet's next volley struck the black ship as one, a single perfect blow. Its shield shattered. Its hull split. It screamed without sound as it tore apart, and the other black ships shuddered as if wounded. Outside, the void lit with explosions of dark energy dissolving into nothing. In the hall, the alien leaders stared in awe. Drathis hissed softly. The Falari twins clicked a sound like hope. The Quarak priest raised its tendrils to the sky. Carter exhaled slowly. "We're not done yet," he said. Outside, the remaining black ships regrouped, smaller now but still deadly. The child's glow dimmed again, exhausted. Lynn steadied it with her hands. Carter looked at the fleet, at the window, at the child. "We've shown them we can stand together," he said quietly. "Now we finish this." The void outside Aurora Prime was filled with drifting wreckage, fragments of black ships dissolving into dust as though they had never been real, their silent screams fading into nothing, and for the first time since the battle began the stars shone through again, cold and clear. Inside the hall, the red emergency lights flickered and dimmed as full power returned to the station, the air heavy with smoke and the smell of scorched metal. Admiral Carter stood at the window, his reflection a pale shadow against the stars, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion but his eyes still sharp. Around him, the alien leaders were silent, their weapons lowered, their faces marked with fear, shock, and something new, respect. Lynn knelt beside the child, her hands steady as she checked its weak pulse. Its glow had dimmed to a faint flicker, but its eyes remained open, watching the scene beyond the glass with a tired calm. Drathis stood near the case, his claws retracted, his yellow eyes no longer burning with rage but with thought. The Falari twins were still clicking softly to each other, but the sound was no longer sharp. It was a rhythm of relief. The Quarak priest raised its tendrils in slow circles, whispering a prayer of thanks to a god that might have been listening after all. Outside the window, the united fleet hovered in strange silence, human and alien ships side by side, their weapons cooling, their crews stunned by what they had just done together. Carter turned from the glass and faced the alien leaders, his voice low but firm. "We fought them back," he said. "But we did not destroy them all. They will return. And when they do, we must be ready." Drathis hissed softly. "We have hated your kind for 100 years, he said. "But today we fought with you. Today you saved us. Today you showed us the enemy was not each other." Carter nodded once. "And you saved us too," he said. "We could not have done this alone." The Quarak priest lowered its tendrils and spoke, its translator clear. "Then let this day be remembered," it said. "Not as the day war began but as the day war ended." The Falari twins clicked together. "If we agree to peace, will your fleet leave our skies?" Carter's jaw tightened. "If we agree to peace, will your fleet stop aiming at Earth?" he asked back. The sail being flickered like a candle. "If we agree to peace, will you share what you know of the shadows?" Carter looked down at the child. "We'll share everything," he said quietly. "We'll share our maps, our signals, our warnings. But we can't do it alone. We need each other." Lynn looked up from the case, her eyes shining with exhaustion and hope. "Admiral, the child," she whispered. Carter knelt beside it. "You saved us," he said softly. The child blinked slowly, its faint glow warming. "Not saved," it whispered in every mind. "Showed the way." Its small hand lifted weakly. "Still coming. More. Others." Carter's stomach clenched. "You mean there are more of them?" The child's eyes closed halfway. "Many," it said. "But together, strong." The alien leaders shifted uneasily but did not reach for their weapons. Drathis spoke again. "Then we have little time," he said. Carter nodded. "We have time enough if we start now," he replied. He stood and faced them all. "We can form an alliance, share technology, build defenses together. Or we can go back to our old ways and be picked off one by one. The choice is yours." Silence filled the hall like a weight. The alien leaders looked at each other, then at the child, then at Carter. The Korak priest was the first to speak. "We choose alliance," it said softly. The Falari twins clicked in agreement. "We will stand," they said. Drathus's claws flexed once. "The Veth do not kneel," he hissed. "But we will fight beside you." Carter's chest rose slowly. "Then let's end the war here," he said. "Let's build something new before the shadows return." Outside, the window signals flashed between ships, not of fire but of cooperation, coordinates and codes shared for the first time. Lin's datapad buzzed as messages poured in from both fleets, captains pledging to hold fire, engineers offering help, medics asking for permission to cross ships to treat the wounded regardless of species. She looked at Carter with a small tired smile. "It's working," she whispered. Carter gave the smallest nod. He turned back to the child. "Will you stay with us?" he asked softly. The child's glow flickered. "Must go," it said. "Must warn others. Must link." Its small hand reached out and touched Carter's wrist. A pulse of warmth spread through him, a sense of connection deeper than words, then faded. The child closed its eyes and its glow dimmed to almost nothing. Lin caught her breath. "Is it dying?" she whispered. The Korak priest bent low, its tendrils brushing the edge of the case. "Not dying," it said softly. "Returning." And as they watched, the child's form flickered like light, and then dissolved into a soft blue mist that drifted upward, scattering into the air until nothing was left but a faint shimmer. Carter stared at the empty case, his throat tight. "We'll finish what you started," he said quietly. Outside, the stars burned bright and cold. The alien leaders stood in silence, each thinking of their fleets, their worlds, their people. Carter straightened his back. "We'll send envoys," he said. "We'll sign treaties. We'll share knowledge. And when they come again, we'll be ready." Drathus hissed low but nodded. The Falari twins clicked once. The Korak priest raised its tendrils high. "Then it begins," it said. Carter turned back to the window. The wreckage of the battle drifted slowly, lit by the pale light of a distant sun. Human and alien ships moved among it, rescuing survivors, towing damaged vessels, sending signals of cooperation. For the first time in living memory, the void was not a border but a bridge. Carter's hands tightened behind his back. He thought of Earth Command and its order: protect humanity at any cost. Perhaps this was the cost, he thought: trusting others, risking everything to gain something greater. He closed his eyes briefly and then opened them again, looking at the stars. "This is only the beginning," he murmured. Lin stood beside him, her tired smile still there. "Then let's make it count," she said softly. Carter nodded once. Behind them, the alien leaders began to speak quietly, not in anger but in planning, already sketching the shape of a council that might stand against the dark together. Outside the window, the last fragments of the black ships dissolved, and the stars came through clear and unbroken. The meeting that was supposed to end war had begun it. But in the fire of that battle something new had been born, something stronger than fear, something that might just survive the shadows waiting in the deep.